How the hell you doing, YouTube? Today we're back with a brand new video. So in today's video we're going to be showing you how to repair here again after an electrician's been, but this time they've cut their tracks out of plasterboard. So we're just going to repair this. So you can see there's a bit of wood already. So what we've done is just cut the length of plasterboard along that bit of wood so that we can fit the new plasterboard just until the edge, a few mil, so to give us something to screw to. And then we're going to get a bit of wood and we're going to straddle it half on and half off the plasterboard here. I have a bit of issue, this old plaster is really crumbly, so it takes me a few times to get the screw to sit properly, but we'll get it eventually. So what we do is we put the wood half on the board and then we'll screw through the old plasterboard into the wood, and then that gives us something else to attach our plasterboard to the other side. In general, this is the way I would fix plasterboard. If I am close enough to the joist, I'll use the joists, but here I didn't want to take loads out of the wall, so and this is the basically the other side of the wall. So the electricians, when they were trying to track, you can see there just to the right hand side there's like a couple of different tracks that they've done, but this one here they try to go through the wall and hit a pipe. So you can see the white pipe, that's the replacement. They hit the old copper and caused a leak. So that's the reason there's a big hole here. What we'll do is we'll just, there's a bit, you can see a bit of wood there behind the plasterboard. We'll use the level to give us a straight cut down the wood. It just gives a few mil either side. And yeah, so that gives us something else to screw to. You get this a lot, sort of trying to tidy up other people's crappy work. The spark didn't leave a very good job on most things that he done in this house. You can see here the back of the other bit of wood that we put in the other side, but we're going to need, along the edge of that white pipe, we're going to need something to catch our plasterboard. So what we'll do is we'll put a length of wood here just beside the pipe. We'll screw that in top and bottom, and then that'll give us something else to screw our plasterboard to that side. We'll have to do this in two. You can do it all in one cut, but I prefer to do a bigger bit of board and then cut a small piece off. It's just the way I prefer to do it. You want to make sure when you're you see here I'm sort of tidying off, there's like a bit of wood in here that they've cut, that the sparks have cut out, and I've sort of cut a bit off it so that I can screw, as you can see, the wood into it, sort of like sistered the joint, and that just gives me something else to screw to. You can see I screwed through until the bit of wood that I put from the other side, and it just like completes that joist and gives me something to screw to. So basically now we're gonna cut our plasterboard. You can see I use the tape measure, I pull it out till the length that I want, and then I pull both sides. The plasterboard, the tape measure will mark the plasterboard, and you can see we'll cut completely through the bottom and then break it off. I just find that's the easiest way to cut plasterboards. When it's on, when you're cutting a bit off the edge, you know, it's not the full length of the board, you know, measure the length from the top to the bottom and then across, and then the bottom cut completely through the board with your knife, and then slice down, and then that'll be able to like break and give you a nice clean edge. So we're going to screw it in here. You can see the pipe slightly pushing the plasterboard out, because the pipe's the same size, but they've basically put two connectors on that's basically pushing the plasterboard out. So instead of me getting a nice clean patch here, you'll see I actually feather it out further than it needs to be, just to make sure that you don't see any of the plasterboard or anything. And then this is back on the other side. We're just going to cut this little slip and screw it on. You can see there on the red plaster, it was on one of the previous bits, that I've cut the old plaster round, and that's, we're going to also PVA it here both sides, but I've cut the old plasterboard round, cut the old plaster off the plasterboard, and that lets me put my scrim tape. I've done the same thing here, although it's harder to see because it's only a few mil that I've cut off, but it allows me to put my scrim tape on without it showing through the plaster. So if I wasn't to do that and I try to skim this flush like I do, the tape would show through the plaster. So you're always better when you're patching jobs like this to just slightly overcoat them and sort of feather the edge in. I find that's the easiest way, because you're never going to get it 100% right. You can see here, it's just I'm going slightly over, and make sure when you do go slightly over, as you can see the PVA there to stop. We're just scrim taping this part. Basically all this does is stop the plaster from cracking down either side. Always better doing this, because if you patch this and it cracks again, you'll be back to fix it. So that's a really important step. Definitely tape any joints or cracks in all your walls. And you're going to see here, as I said, because the pipes are bulging, I'm going to overcoat this. Basically just coat it out too far, and then it gives me a bit of, so I can play with the depth, and it just makes it easier when I'm troweling up, basically. So we'll get our first coat on, our first coat on, our second coat on, and then we'll come back and we'll rub the edges with a brush, and we'll just feather the edges out. So we'll put the heel of the trowel off the plaster and the toe of the trowel on the plaster, and we'll scrape the edge clean. So you sort of like feather it out, and then we'll do the same here. It'll be a bit easier. You can see I'm using the edge of the trowel to sort of flatten the plaster, so there's no big edges or bumps or humps in it. Yeah, and you have to do this early. I think I said in the last video as well, you need to feather out the edges pretty early. And then we basically just follow the same process. We'll come with our cutting trowel, and then we'll cut any ridges or bumps and humps out, making sure to always be feathering the edge in. And then make sure to always feather the edges, and then trowel in. You'll see here, this next clip, I'll go round the edge again. You'll see I'll brush around the edge, and the first thing I do every time that I come to re-skim, or skim again, or trowel again, sorry, I'll cut around the edge, and then I'll bring the middle in, and I'm just cutting back all the plaster, and feathering the edge in nice and tidy, as you can see. So we just follow the same process as we always do. We'll cut the plaster down here, and then we'll leave it about another 15-20 minutes till it turns black, and then we'll give it a go with our flexi trowel. So this is us flexing now. The plaster's almost turned hard, and we're just going to do the same thing, go along the edge, and just make sure any bumps and humps are filled. Here again we'll go, you see I'm sort of cutting in from the corners and then bring the middle. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did,